Right then, Tricky Trees, if you're a proper Nottingham Forest supporter, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you will absolutely blow your bloody mind. We're living through the most extraordinary period in City Ground history. And if you're not keeping up, you're missing the greatest behind-the-scenes drama in English football. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to watch your club transform before your very eyes? What it's like to see a legendary institution evolve into a European powerhouse? Well, that's precisely what's happening to our beloved Forest right here, right now. Over the past 3 days, 5 absolute bombshells have exploded in the transfer market that will completely reshape our season. And perhaps our entire future. We've got a brilliant young talent from Manchester City who sent a crystal clear message to anyone who thought he'd be joining us at the City Ground. We've got one of our own stars being courted by European giants. We've got mind-blowing investments that have supporters dreaming of Champions League nights. We've got a potential signing that could revolutionize our midfield. And we've got an epic battle with another Premier League club for England's brightest prospect. But before I spill all these secrets, I need you to prove you're a true Red. Smash that like button down below, because anyone who truly loves Forest doesn't hesitate for a second. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell, because missing our content is like missing a Forest goal celebration. Absolutely criminal. Now then, are you ready for revelation number 1? Because this first story involves a player who's just shattered every Forest fan's transfer dream in the most brutal way imaginable. Picture this scene, if you will. It's Sunday afternoon at Molineux. Manchester City have just demolished Wolves 4-0 in their season opener. And there's this young English talent putting in an absolute masterclass at right back, even grabbing an assist for Erling Haaland's opener. The kind of performance that makes you think, bloody hell, imagine him in a Forest shirt. Now, we've all been there, haven't we? Watching a brilliant young player and dreaming about them joining our club. Especially when the rumor mill starts churning with whispers of £30 million bids and genuine interest from the City Ground. But sometimes, just sometimes, reality comes crashing down like a thunderbolt. And that's exactly what happened when this particular player decided to speak to the media after City's comprehensive victory. Rico Lewis didn't just dismiss the Nottingham Forest rumors, he absolutely obliterated them with the kind of conviction that would make a politician jealous. The 20-year-old Manchester City Academy graduate looked straight into the cameras and declared that he's never ever seen himself at another club. That his only focus has been on wanting to play for City because it's always been his dream club. Can you imagine the audacity? Here we are, fresh off a 7th place Premier League finish. European football returning to the City Ground for the first time in nearly 30 years. Over £150 million invested in new talent, the most ambitious project in our modern history. And this lad basically says thanks, but no thanks. I'm quite happy where I am. Lewis went on to explain that playing alongside the quality and caliber of players in City's squad brings out the best in him, pointing to his Wolves performance as proof. Fair enough, mate. But has he forgotten we've got the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White, Elliot Anderson, and now James McAtee in our ranks? The thing that really stings, though, is how certain he seemed about his future, stating that representing Manchester City is living his own dream and showing absolutely no interest whatsoever in entertaining Forest's supposed £30 million interest. Now, I get it, loyalty is admirable. But when you've got Pep Guardiola himself admitting there's uncertainty surrounding how much Lewis might be utilized given other options, you'd think a guaranteed starting spot at a club with European ambitions might be tempting. But no, this lad would rather fight for minutes at the Etihad than become a guaranteed star at the City Ground. What do you reckon, Forest fans? Is Rico Lewis missing the opportunity of a lifetime? Or are we better off without someone who doesn't fully appreciate what we're building here? Because let me tell you, what I'm about to reveal next will show you just how much other players actually want to be associated with our project. Now then, while we're dealing with rejection from Manchester City youngsters, there's drama brewing around one of our own talented attackers that's got European clubs absolutely salivating. And this situation is far more complex than a simple yes or no answer. Imagine being a winger who's just won your club's Young Player of the Season award. You got pace to burn, skills that make defenders' heads spin, and you're entering what should be the prime years of your career. Sounds pretty sweet, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly the position one of our stars finds himself in right now. Except there's a massive Turkish giant lurking in the shadows, trying to tempt him away from the city ground with promises of European football and continental glamour. Callum Hudson-Odoi has found himself on a very exclusive three-man shortlist at Besiktas, alongside Sassuolo's Armand Laurente and Marseille's Jonathan Rowe, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer desperately searches for wide attacking reinforcements in Istanbul. The Turkish media are reporting that Besiktas will look to bring in one player from this prestigious list, and then wait for the UK transfer window to close before making their move for Manchester United's Jadon Sancho. Talk about being part of an elite group. Hudson-Odoi made 33 appearances last season, bagging 5 goals and consistently tormenting Premier League defenses with his directness and flair. The kind of statistics that make Turkish giants take notice and European scouts scribble frantically in their notebooks. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating, and why this story is far more intriguing than your typical transfer rumor. Sources close to the city ground are suggesting that Hudson-Odoi is on the verge of signing a brand new contract extension with Nottingham Forest, which would tie him down until well beyond his current June 2026 deal. Can you imagine the relief among Forest supporters? Just when European clubs start circling like vultures, our boy decides he wants to commit his future to the tricky trees. The Turkish media outlet Photomag might be dreaming a bit too big here, because Hudson-Odoi seems perfectly content with life in Nottinghamshire, playing European football with his boyhood club and being part of something truly special that's building at the city ground. This isn't just about rejecting Turkish interest, it's about a talented English winger choosing to be part of Forest's incredible project, rather than chasing the supposedly greener grass elsewhere. What does this tell you about the culture Nuno Espirito Santo is building? What does it say about our ambitions when players actively want to stay and be part of this journey? Because speaking of ambitions, what I'm about to tell you next will show you exactly how serious Forest are about gatecrashing the Premier League's elite party. Right, Forest faithful. I hope you're sitting down for this one, because what I'm about to describe will either have you jumping around your living room with excitement or questioning whether you've accidentally fallen into some brilliant football fantasy. Sunday afternoon at the city ground, the sun was shining down like it was blessing our beautiful stadium. New signings James McAtee and Omari Hutchinson were being paraded before kickoff like conquering heroes, and Mull of Kintyre was echoing around the stands with the kind of passion that gives you proper goosebumps. But that was just the beginning of what might go down as one of the most significant weekends in modern Nottingham Forest history. Picture this absolute masterclass unfolding before your eyes. Chris Wood opening the scoring after just 5 minutes, debutant Dan Ndoye adding a second with the kind of flair that makes you believe in magic, and then Wood grabbing his second to make it 3-0 at halftime against Brentford. The players walked off to a standing ovation. Nuno Espirito Santo stood there smiling with his arms folded like a proud father watching his children succeed. And owner Evangelos Marinakis was being serenaded from the director's box by supporters who finally believe they're witnessing something truly special. Less than 24 hours later, boom! Forest announced the signing of French striker Arnaud Kalimwendo from Rennes for £26 million, taking our summer spending past the absolutely staggering figure of £150 million. Can you wrap your head around that? £150 million. That's more than some Premier League clubs spend in 3 seasons combined, and we've done it in one summer transfer window following our acquisitions of Hutchinson, McAtee, Angus Gunn, and Brazilian duo Igor Jesus and Jair Cunha. The ambition is pulsing through every brick of the city ground. Desire is visible and audible everywhere you look. And there's this massive banner hanging from the Trent End, inscribed with the words, "Into the forest I go, to lose my mind and find my soul." If that doesn't give you chills, you might want to check your pulse. Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White were absolutely superb against Brentford and appear ripe for genuinely massive seasons ahead. with Gibbs White himself snubbing a move to Tottenham Hotspur this summer to instead sign a new 3-year deal at the City Ground. When your captain is turning down Champions League clubs to stay with Forest, you know something extraordinary is happening. We're not just talking about European football here. We're talking about our first European campaign in nearly 30 years. We're talking about flirting with Champions League qualification for much of last term. Before finishing 7th, we're talking about our best top-flight position since we ended the 1994-95 season in 3rd place. The question that's burning in every Forest supporter's mind right now is whether Nuno's revamped squad can better last season's incredible performance and maybe, just maybe, deliver our first major trophy since 1990. Are we witnessing the resurrection of a sleeping giant? Are we about to gatecrash the Premier League's top 4 party? Because what I'm about to tell you next involves a midfield maestro who could be the final piece of this championship caliber puzzle. Hold on to your Forest scarves, because this next revelation involves one of the most surprising potential signings of the entire summer transfer window. And when I tell you who we're talking about, you're going to understand exactly why this deal could transform our entire midfield dynamic. There's nothing quite like the thrill of a Fabrizio Romano exclusive, is there? When the transfer guru himself starts tweeting about your club with phrases like close to joining and final details to be agreed, you know you're dealing with something absolutely massive. And that's precisely the situation we find ourselves in right now with a midfielder who just over a year ago was considered one of the most promising talents in European football. Douglas Luiz is reportedly very close to joining Nottingham Forest, with only minor details left to be sorted between the clubs before he undergoes his medical and completes what could be the most shrewd signing of our ambitious summer rebuild. Now, I know what you're thinking. Douglas Luiz? The same Douglas Luiz who moved from Aston Villa to Juventus for 51.5 million euros just over a year ago. The same Brazilian international who was supposed to be the missing piece in Juventus's midfield puzzle. Yes, that's exactly who we're talking about. And the fact that we're even in the conversation tells you everything about how far this football club has risen in such a short space of time. Luiz's time at Juventus hasn't exactly gone according to plan, has it? 27 appearances last season without registering a single goal or assist. Clearly struggling to adapt to Italian football on Massimiliano Allegri's tactical demands. But here's where it gets interesting for Forest supporters. Sometimes a change of scenery, a return to the Premier League where he thrived at Aston Villa, and the opportunity to be a key player in an ambitious project is exactly what a talented midfielder needs to rediscover his best form. Tribuna.com currently values him at £30 million, which would represent excellent value for a player of his undoubted quality and Premier League experience, especially considering Juventus paid significantly more just over a year ago. Imagine Douglas Luiz pulling the strings alongside Morgan Gibbs White, Elliot Anderson, and James McAtee. Can you picture that midfield quartet terrorizing Premier League defenses? The Brazilian's technical ability, passing range, and set-piece expertise could be exactly what we need to take our European ambitions to the next level. His contract runs until June 2029, so Juventus aren't under immediate pressure to sell. But sometimes, when a move makes sense for all parties involved, these deals have a way of coming together quickly. What do you think, Forest fans? Is Douglas Luiz the missing piece that could turn us from European hopefuls into genuine top 4 contenders? Because our final story tonight shows just how determined the club is to strengthen every single area of the squad. Here we are then, Forest family, at our final revelation of this absolutely mind-blowing evening, and it involves a battle that's heating up nicely between 2 Premier League clubs for one of England's brightest defensive prospects. There's something beautifully poetic about ending our transfer roundup with a story that perfectly encapsulates everything this football club represents right now. Ambition, determination, and the absolute refusal to be outfought by anyone when it comes to securing the talent we need for our incredible journey ahead. Kellen Fisher, the 21-year-old Norwich City defender who won their Young Player of the Season award last term, has found himself at the center of an increasingly heated transfer battle between Nottingham Forest and Everton. And this isn't just any old tussle for signatures. This is a proper scrap that could define both clubs' seasons. Football Insider revealed earlier this month that David Moyes' Everton were planning a move for Fisher, but now they're facing serious competition from our beloved Tricky Trees ahead of the September 1st deadline. The young England under-20 international has made 58 senior appearances for the Canaries since graduating from their academy, notching 4 assists in 38 championship appearances during what was genuinely his breakthrough season. With Ola Aina set to disappear off to the African Cup of Nations in December and our squad also competing in Europe, new fullbacks aren't just desirable, they're absolutely vital for what we're trying to achieve this season. Aina and Nico Williams have both signed new deals at the City Ground, which shows the club's commitment to keeping our best defenders, but that hasn't made up for the lack of reinforcements in the fullback positions. We need depth, we need quality, and we need players who can step up when the big moments arrive in European competition. Fisher has 3 caps for England under-20s and is on the verge of breaking through to the next age group, which would put him alongside City Ground star Elliot Anderson in the national team setup. Can you imagine the chemistry those two could develop? The Canaries might be reluctant to let him go, especially with Liam Manning now in charge, and potentially different ideas about how to use their talented defender. But sometimes, when Premier League clubs come calling with serious offers, Championship clubs have to be realistic. Supporters are extremely excited by our moves for Igor Jesus, Dan Ndoye, Omari Hutchinson, James McAtee, and Arno Kalimwendo, with the money from Anthony Elanga's sale being reinvested perfectly. This potential signing would represent the final piece of our defensive puzzle, giving Nuno the squad depth he needs to compete on multiple fronts throughout what promises to be the most demanding season in recent Forest history. Are we about to win this battle with Everton? Will Kellen Fisher choose the City Ground over Goodison Park? And more importantly, are you ready to witness what might be the greatest season in modern Nottingham Forest history? So there you have it, Tricky Trees. 5 absolutely massive stories that show exactly where this football club is heading. We've got players from other clubs respecting us enough to reject moves here, because they know we mean business. We've got our own stars choosing to stay and fight for European glory. We've got owners investing over £150 million in pure ambition. We've got potential signings that could revolutionize our midfield, and we've got battles for England's brightest prospects. This isn't just another transfer window. This is the moment Nottingham Forest announces to the world that we're back among the elite. If this content has got your blood pumping like mine, smash that like button, subscribe to never miss another Forest bombshell, and drop a comment telling me which of these stories has you most excited. Because trust me, if you think this is good, wait until you see what I've got lined up for tomorrow's video about our European campaign preparations. You won't want to miss it. Come on, you Reds!